Tears isn't a woman's only weapon. The best one is between your legs. Learn to use it. With the right man, you'll find it more useful than even a sword. Cersei Lannister says this to Sansa Stark during the Battle of Blackwater, Season 2, Episode 9. They're locked in Maegor's Holdfast while Stannis Baratheon's army assaults King's Landing. The sounds of battle echo outside. Men are dying on the walls. The outcome is uncertain. And Cersei, drunk on wine, stripped of her careful political mask, sits with terrified noblewomen and delivers what seems like brutal honesty about how women survive in Westeros. But watch this scene carefully, because Cersei isn't being honest. She's performing. Every word is calculated. Every piece of advice is a tool. Every moment of apparent vulnerability is actually a display of dominance. This scene exposed how Cersei manipulates everyone around her by revealing her entire playbook. The cruelty disguised as wisdom, the lies dressed as truth, the systematic destruction of hope presented as realistic preparation. And most devastatingly, it showed us how Cersei uses this moment of maximum terror to break down a young girl who still believes in honor, kindness, and decency. Let's examine how Cersei operates, what this scene reveals about her manipulation tactics, and why this drunk, seemingly unguarded moment is actually the most controlled performance she gives. The setup: terror as opportunity. The Battle of Blackwater is one of the most dangerous moments in Cersei's life. If Stannis wins, he'll execute her and her children. He knows they're bastards born of incest. He knows Joffrey has no legitimate claim to the throne. He'll show no mercy. Cersei has even prepared for this outcome. She has poison ready. She's planning to kill Tommen rather than let Stannis capture him. So she should be terrified. Paralyzed by fear. Barely functional. Instead, Cersei sees opportunity. The highborn women of King's Landing are gathered in Maegor's Holdfast for safety. They're frightened, vulnerable, looking for leadership and comfort. Sansa, as the king's betrothed, is trying to keep them calm, singing hymns, offering prayers, being brave and dignified. And Cersei, even facing potential death, decides to use this crisis to destroy Sansa's composure and assert complete dominance over the room. This is who Cersei is. Even in moments of genuine danger, she's calculating how to manipulate the people around her. The first strike: mockery as weapon. Cersei begins by mocking Sansa's attempts at leadership. Sansa is doing exactly what she's supposed to do: maintaining dignity, offering comfort, being the calm center in a storm of fear. And Cersei ridicules her for it. "You're perfect, aren't you? All your efforts to please me, all your sweet little prayers." The words sound like compliments, but the tone is pure contempt. Watch what Cersei accomplishes with this one attack. She undermines Sansa's authority. Sansa was providing leadership. Now she's been reduced to a foolish girl playing at being brave. She makes Sansa self-conscious. Every prayer now feels performative. Every attempt at dignity feels like pretense. She signals to the room who's actually in charge. Not Sansa with her sweet prayers, Cersei with her cruel honesty. And it works instantly. Sansa's composure cracks. She stammers, tries to defend herself, falls directly into Cersei's trap. This is Cersei's first manipulation tactic. Use mockery to destabilize your target, then position yourself as the only source of truth in the room. The lesson: poison dressed as wisdom. Then Cersei shifts from mockery to teaching. She presents herself as the experienced woman educating the naive girl. Tears isn't a woman's only weapon. The best one is between your legs. Learn to use it. With the right man, you'll find it more useful than even a sword. This is framed as practical advice, as hard truths that innocent Sansa needs to learn about how the world works. But look at what Cersei's actually doing. She's reducing all female power. According to Cersei, women have only one real weapon: not intelligence, not political acumen, not alliances or strategy, just love. She's limiting Sansa's thinking. If Sansa believes this is women's only weapon, she won't develop other sources of power. She won't learn to read people, build alliances, or think strategically. She's validating her own choices. Cersei has used feminine charms as a weapon her entire life. By presenting this as universal truth rather than personal strategy, she justifies every manipulation she's ever done. She's deliberately shocking Sansa. Sansa is young and relatively innocent. This crude advice makes her deeply uncomfortable, which is exactly Cersei's goal. Why shock her? Because uncomfortable people are easier to control. They're off balance, defensive, unable to think clearly or challenge what they're being told. Notice the brilliance of the delivery. Cersei presents this as wisdom, as honest truth that naive Sansa desperately needs to learn. But it's actually poison designed to corrupt Sansa's view of herself and her potential. The terror. Truth as torture. Then Cersei escalates to outright psychological torture, still disguised as brutal honesty. If the city falls, these fine women should be in for a bit of a rape. Half of them will have bastards in their bellies come the morning. Think about what she's doing. These women are already terrified. They can hear the battle outside. They're wondering if their husbands and sons are dying on the walls. And Cersei, who as Queen Mother should be comforting them, protecting them, giving them hope, describes in graphic detail what will happen if Stannis wins. Why would she do this? Why terrorize women who are already afraid? Because fear is control. When people are consumed by terror, they stop thinking independently. They become desperate for anyone who seems strong and certain. They'll accept any authority that promises protection. Cersei wants these women completely dependent on the city holding, completely grateful to her if they survive, completely traumatized into obedience, and she frames it as honesty, as facing reality, as the truth everyone's thinking, but only she's brave enough to say out loud. This is Cersei's signature move, using truth as a weapon, taking something real and horrible, stating it bluntly, then claiming moral superiority for her honesty, while actually just inflicting psychological damage. The performance, drunk but in control. Here's the most brilliant thing about this scene. Cersei appears drunk and out of control, but she's actually performing with surgical precision. Yes, she's drinking heavily. Yes, her usual careful political mask is down, but watch what she accomplishes. She dominates every woman in the room, while maintaining plausible deniability. If anyone complains later, she was drunk, she was stressed by the battle. She didn't mean those things. She teaches Sansa her philosophy of power while framing it as wine-loosened rambling, rather than deliberate instruction. She terrorizes the assembled noble women but can later claim she was just being realistic about the dangers they faced. This is sophisticated manipulation. Cersei is using the appearance of losing control to do things she couldn't do while sober and composed. When she gives Sansa crude advice, she can later dismiss it as drunken vulgarity. When she describes the rapes that will occur if they lose, she can say the wine loosened her tongue. But the damage is done. The fear is planted, the lessons are absorbed, the dominance is established. And Cersei maintains her position of power, while appearing to have temporarily lost it. The worldview, how Cersei sees power. What makes this scene so revealing is that Cersei actually does expose her genuine worldview, not by accident, but because she wants to imprint it on Sansa and everyone listening. The gods have no mercy. That's why they're gods. This is Cersei's core belief. The powerful don't show mercy because mercy is weakness. Strength means being willing to be cruel. The gods, if they exist, are merciless, so humans with power should be too. She's lived her entire life by this principle, and it's kept her alive. She couldn't inherit Casterly Rock, she's a woman. She couldn't choose her husband, her father sold her to Robert. She couldn't refuse Robert's abuse, she had no power to resist. So she used the weapons available: manipulation, cruelty, lies disguised as truth. She became merciless because mercy got you nothing. And it worked. She became queen. She put her son on the throne. She survived every plot and rebellion and threat. When Cersei tells Sansa that feminine charms is women's best weapon, she's revealing the strategy that's kept her in power for decades. When she terrorizes the noble women, she's using the fear tactics that have always worked for her. This scene exposes Cersei's entire playbook because she believes in it so completely that she wants to convert others to her way of thinking. The target. Why Sansa specifically? It's crucial to understand why Cersei focuses so intensely on Sansa in this scene. Sansa represents everything Cersei both envies and wants to destroy. Sansa still believes in honor and goodness. She thinks being dutiful and kind will protect her. Cersei learned that lesson was a lie, and she wants to corrupt Sansa's innocence. Sansa is young and beautiful. Cersei is aging, watching her beauty fade. She resents Sansa's youth and wants to poison it with cynicism before Sansa can enjoy it. Sansa is betrothed to Joffrey. Cersei knows exactly what horrors that marriage will bring. She wants to break Sansa's hope before the wedding even happens. Sansa is a Stark. Cersei helped destroy Ned Stark. Now she wants to break his daughter, to prove that honor loses and ruthlessness wins, to complete her victory over the Stark family. So Cersei uses this battle, this moment of maximum terror, to systematically dismantle everything Sansa believes about the world. Sansa thinks prayers matter. Cersei mocks her faith. Sansa thinks women can have dignity and power. Cersei reduces it all to her desirability. Sansa thinks being good will protect her. Cersei describes in graphic detail what happens to good women when bad men win. This isn't random cruelty. It's targeted psychological warfare against a girl Cersei sees as both victim and threat. The pattern. How this mirrors everything Cersei does. What makes this scene so important is that it's a perfect microcosm of how Cersei operates throughout the entire series. Look at every major manipulation Cersei pulls. She uses truth as a weapon. When she tells Ned Stark that he should have taken the throne, she's revealing his mistake while seeming to respect his honor. When she tells Tyrion he killed their mother by being born, she's stating a fact while using it to justify her cruelty. She frames cruelty as honesty. Every brutal thing she says is presented as facing reality, as being the only one brave enough to acknowledge hard truths. She uses fear to control. Whether it's terrorizing Sansa with descriptions of rape, threatening Margaery with violence, or blowing up the Sept of Baelor, Cersei believes fear creates obedience. She presents weakness as strength. When she appears drunk or vulnerable, she's actually in complete control. The appearance of losing composure gives her freedom to do things she couldn't do while seeming strong. She poisons rather than educates. When Cersei teaches someone, she's not actually helping them. She's limiting their thinking, corrupting their values, making them more like her. This Blackwater scene is Cersei's manipulation strategy in miniature. Every tactic she uses against Sansa here, she uses against everyone else throughout the series. The irony, the teacher becomes the lesson. There's a beautiful irony in this scene that only becomes clear much later. Cersei is trying to teach Sansa that women's only weapon is feminine charms, that cruelty wins, that honor is foolishness, that you manipulate or you die. But Sansa doesn't learn those lessons, not the way Cersei intended. Instead, Sansa learns to recognize manipulation when she sees it. She learns to spot when someone is using truth as a weapon. She learns that people who claim to be giving harsh wisdom are often just being cruel. By the end of the series, Sansa has become politically astute, but not in Cersei's way. She hasn't abandoned honor for ruthlessness. She's learned to combine honor with intelligence, to be good and strategic at once. Cersei tried to corrupt Sansa into becoming another version of herself. Instead, she taught Sansa exactly what kind of person not to become. The student learned from the teacher, just not the lessons the teacher intended. The cost. What this strategy eventually brings. This scene exposes Cersei's manipulation tactics, but it also exposes the fundamental flaw in her entire approach to power. Cersei believes that fear, cruelty, and manipulation are how you survive. And they do work, for a while. She becomes queen. She puts her children on the throne. She outlives most of her enemies. But this strategy has a cost. Everyone around Cersei eventually learns not to trust her. Her children fear her as much as love her. Her allies are only loyal as long as she has power. Her enemies multiply because she creates them through cruelty. When she tells Sansa that tears and feminine charms are women's only weapons, she's revealing her own limitation. She's never learned that there are other sources of power. Genuine loyalty, strategic alliances, being someone people want to follow rather than someone they fear. Cersei builds her entire power structure on fear and manipulation. And when that structure collapses, when her children die, When her allies abandon her, when her enemies close in, she has nothing left. Because fear only works while you have the power to inspire it. And manipulation only works while people don't realize they're being manipulated. This Blackwater scene shows us the tactics that kept Cersei alive, but it also shows us the philosophy that will eventually destroy her. The final truth tears isn't a woman's only weapon. The best one is between your legs. Learn to use it. With the right man, you'll find it more useful than even a sword. This line reveals everything about how Cersei Lannister manipulates the world around her. It's framed as practical advice, as brutal honesty about how women survive in a world run by men. But it's actually a perfect example of Cersei's manipulation tactics. She presents her personal strategy as universal truth. She limits other women's thinking to match her own. She uses shock and prudeness to destabilize her target. She disguises cruelty as wisdom. This entire Blackwater scene is Cersei's playbook exposed. Every tactic she uses, every manipulation she relies on, every weapon in her arsenal. She uses truth as torture. She frames fear as realism. She presents her worldview as the only honest assessment of reality. And she does it all while appearing drunk and out of control, maintaining plausible deniability for every cruel thing she says. This is how Cersei has manipulated everyone around her for her entire life. Not through subtle political maneuvering, not through brilliant strategy, but through systematic psychological warfare disguised as honesty. She identifies what people value, Sansa's honor, the noble women's hope, and destroys it while claiming to be realistic. She uses moments of crisis, like a battle where everyone's terrified, to break people down when they're most vulnerable. She presents herself as the only one brave enough to face ugly truths, when she's actually just someone who weaponizes honesty to inflict damage. This scene exposed all of it. Every manipulation tactic Cersei uses throughout the series is on display here, and the most devastating thing? It works. Sansa is traumatized. The noble women are terrorized. Cersei establishes complete dominance, while maintaining the excuse that she was just drunk and stressed by the battle. This is who Cersei Lannister is, not a brilliant strategist, not a political genius, but a master manipulator who uses cruelty, fear, and truth as weapons against anyone vulnerable enough to be her target. And this one scene, this moment during the Battle of Blackwater, showed us exactly how she does it.